If I can teach somebody else the skills that I learned canning on somebody's farm, or I can take the skill of making yogurt that I learned on somebody else's farm and teach that to somebody else, that's what I want to do, is be able to kind of gather these skills and pass them on as we travel.
Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast. Today is Thursday, May 19th, 2022, and this is episode 210. And since it's Thursday, we have an interview today. Today's interview is with Matt and Kaitie from FarmHopLife. And I just recently featured them as the content creator shout out that I did, but today I get to have them actually on the podcast talking to you. And so today we talk about their beginnings as homesteaders, as well as their plan, which is going to start next year, they're hoping, to start traveling the country. And they're going to travel the country to help other homesteaders out with work that needs to be done on their homesteads. Matt and Kaitie discuss what FarmHopLife grew out of. They talk about what people think about their upcoming adventure and how they plan to handle life on the road with young children. So sit back and hear what Matt and Kaitie have to say. I know that you will enjoy this interview. So today I have Matt and Kaitie from FarmHopLife. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
I'm grand. I'm so glad that I finally get to have you on the show, because you came out into the podcasting and the YouTube scene, and I just loved what you were doing. I especially loved that you would do these interviews and then you'd break them down into these tiny little segments, so they were super digestible. So you didn't have to sit and watch the whole interview. You could just catch that little snippet. I love that.
So about that,
yeah,
those little snippets are actually after the show.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. The one that I just did, the guy was like talking about Wendell Berry for a second, and I like wrote down really quick about Wendell Berry, like make a note, like remember who that is. But like the conversation had moved past being able to bring that back, and so I'm like, I got to ask him about who is Wendell Berry, and so I just like after the show I start another recording and I chunk that up afterwards, like things that maybe didn't come up or things that I didn't get around to asking.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, it's just like an extra content. So like I just asked my guests like, hey, are you cool with doing like a little bit of BSing if you got time after the show?
Yeah.
And usually they say yes. So. Well,
it works. I love it. That's awesome.
Thanks.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for my listeners who don't know who you are. I know I did have you as the content creator shout out a couple of weeks ago, because I was so excited about what you're doing. Then I was like, I got to have him on the show. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
You want to start? Or you want me to start?
I'm Kaitie.
I'm Matt. We are from Minnesota. We started dating in Minnesota, and after 8 months, moved to Montana together. And
having never lived together before, we moved 2,000 miles away and got an apartment.
That's a commitment. Woo.
And then probably like another 8 months got married. So
do it up.
Yeah. We built our house out here almost 3 years ago. We broke ground. And we've got an almost 2-year-old. He's going to be 2 at the end of this month. And in about a month from right now, we're going to have another baby. So
adventure time.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly. So tell me, what is FarmHopLife? What is that?
So the idea came from really working our own homestead here. So once we had the house, we got laying hens right away, kind of had like a rough garden, let's say.
We had a few garden beds.
Yeah, they were rough, but it grew some things, and just kind of evolves from there, making it better, whatever. And just struggling for time, just like everybody else. Don't have time to do this, do that. What if I had some help? Man, I could get a lot done doing this. But then I was thinking, what if I could be that guy for other people and Katie and I really love traveling. She used to work at Delta. We'd fly standby.
We went all over the place right after we got married.
Wow.
And we're big fans of The Amazing Race. So
we're going to turn that into our life. And
perfect.
The homestead version of that. So, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. Just want to travel from homestead to homestead, meet people, talk to people, see how they're doing things, and give them a hand, because we need more people that have backyard gardens.
Mm-hmm. So that's basically how you came up with the idea.
Pretty much.
Is not having enough time on your own homestead and let's help people out.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll just leave all whatever I'm doing behind. It's like, I want other people to succeed first. So
I think Matt gets a lot more out of helping other people than he does on accomplishing his own projects around here. So, because you knock one project off your list and you add 4 more, and it feels like it's constantly never ending. Like, we're always working on the house. We're always working on the yard. We're always having babies. I mean,
that's okay.
But he does get a lot of satisfaction of going and helping. Even if it's a couple hours a day that he can go over there on the weekend, like he's going to help somebody out tomorrow, just because they need a hand. And it's not like, okay, well, how much are you going to pay me? It's, hey, if I need a hand, I'll give you a call. If you need a hand, you give me a call. And that's the kind of thing we want to do everywhere we go.
Mm-hmm. So your plan is to travel in an RV, or?
Yes.
Ideally.
Okay.
Next year, we're going to take off, because can't do it with a brand new baby. 1-year-old seems better. And so we're going to take off from here in a travel trailer and just start farm hop.
I think the plan is next summer to kind of stay a little bit closer to home, so we make sure the RV that we buy doesn't have any major water leaks or major issues. And then we can start branching out. Like, we've already made a bunch of contacts through Matt's interviews. But kind of just reach out to those people that we've already talked to and say, hey, is there a certain time of the year that you have a big project or you could really use a hand for a couple of weeks? We will plan to be there. And just kind of build the community through that. Start with the people we already know and then see where we go.
Like the map on my website. So whenever I do an interview, and people don't usually like for other people to know exactly where they are, so I just get close.
Sure.
I got a map on my website of all where the interviewees are, and that's basically our wish list for where we want to go going forward, and pick up other people along the way. Like, not actually bring them with us, but
you have a big traveling caravan.
Well, that would be something. Actually, I thought about that. Like, if we had if it grew into something big, we could have like a farm hop convoy or something like that. Like,
that would be amazing.
All of a sudden we got like 10 people on this one guy's homestead, and it's like, let's just knock it out. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Deep into Matt's mind.
I was wondering how it was that you were going to figure out where to go. Like, who are your contacts you're starting with? But that makes the people that you have interviewed. That's a great way to start building a community to go help out.
Yeah, people can reach out to us too. Like, I actually already had a guy that I don't even know if I interviewed him yet out in Wisconsin. He's like, I need some help with my irrigation ditch or something like that. Like, can you come out and help me? And I'm like, we're not ready yet. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it bums me out that we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Soon.
But obviously there's interest in it.
Yeah.
So
it's gotten
awesome.
The feedback has been so positive. It's like, you're doing something right when you're like, wow, we just got like random people like, wow, that's cool.
Right. That's very cool.
Because I think everybody could use a hand.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Are you going to keep your homestead and travel, or are you going to sell the homestead and travel?
We're going to keep it. This was a great debate for months. And even there's still like a 5% chance, like, what if we just sold it? But it's
Okay, so a little backstory on that.
Okay.
When we bought this property and built our house, this was the middle of nowhere in Montana. And then the pandemic hit and it became a very desirable place to live.
Okay.
So it turned into we could sell our house for like 3 times more than we paid to build it. Mm-hmm. And the idea of having, just the bills for gas and food and the insurance on the RV and the truck, that would bring our monthly bills pretty low.
Yeah.
Whereas if we keep the house, we still have to make a decent income while we're traveling. Mm-hmm. So we finally decided we're going to try and keep the house because we'd never be able to buy back here again if we sold. Mm-hmm. So we're going to keep the house and Airbnb it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And we're playing with the idea to have that whole support small farms mentality to keep that going here. Mm-hmm. We're playing with the idea of getting in touch with somebody and having them, for free, in exchange for cleaning the house, they can operate their little homestead here. If they wanted chickens or a garden or whatever, sheep. Yeah. That they could keep it going. And farm stays are pretty successul and desirable. Yeah. People are weird. They just sometimes they just want to see a cow. There won't be a cow here, but
you can see cows from here.
Yeah,
I mean, not ours.
Yeah, you can see a farm. You can see a cow from the deck. So,
how many acres do you have where you are?
2.25.
Okay.
Yep.
How amazing would that be if you're somebody who doesn't have their own land and doesn't have the ability to do that right now, but you have someone who's like, hey, come watch my property. And in exchange for you taking care of it, you can have your homestead here. That's kind
of what I'm
awesome.
Thinking.
Yeah.
Yep. And it cuts down on having to hire somebody to manage it. Cause we got in contact with a guy and he gave us he's conservatively, you could, have this much a year, even, with the off season being from September to May. Wow, that's kind of crazy, that much. But he charges a quarter of all of it. I'm like, man, that seems like a lot. And so I got in contact with another person that I had interviewed.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's I've got a couple of Airbnbs that I do that I manage remotely. It's not that hard. And I was like, okay, I guess we're just
have to find a good cleaner.
Yep.
Wow.
But we've stayed in a few different Airbnbs. And we want to make sure we have something different to offer, farm fresh eggs or meat from the farm that you can see across the road or soaps that are made by a friend of ours, just
sure.
the little touches that make it more homey in Montana.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. I'm excited to see what happens with all of this for you. I think that's going to be so cool. But
hopefully
here's my
it's so smooth that there'll be no hiccups at all.
That's what it's going to be. That's what I see in the future for you.
Thank you.
So here's a question you probably get a lot. I know you get this a lot. What about the kids?
Oh, what about the kids? Well, we're bringing them with. So
you're not just going to leave them at your house, and that's part of what people have to take care of?
I mean it was
now that you bring it up.
So that movie Captain Fantastic with what is his name?
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
So it's a dad and 8 of his kids in an RV, and I don't even know what the whole storyline is really, but it just looks like they have an awesome life. And his kids are incredibly smart. They he gets them up at 5 a.m., runs 3 miles in the woods or something. And then did we watch this together?
I think so.
Okay.
But
that's how I picture this going.
Just like the movie.
Katie's laughing. Is that how you picture it going, Kaitie?
I think it's definitely going to be a bit of an adjustment because right now I'm a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. And, adjusting to that after having worked 2 jobs since I was like 15 was very difficult. Mm-hmm. And so then adjusting to doing that on the road and also still, helping out on people's farms, it's going to take a minute. But I think in the long run, like the experience that we're going to be able to give the kids, I keep saying one kid, we're going to have 2. There's going to be 2. The experience we're going to be able to give them with meeting new people, learning about farming, learning about gardening, exploring. I mean, we plan on stopping at national parks and stuff along our journey and showing them as much as we possibly can. I think that sense of adventure is something that you just can't replicate. So I traveled a lot when I was little, and I think that helped me be more independent in traveling as I got older. Like I studied abroad in Europe, in Germany for a year, and I traveled everywhere by myself. And everybody's like, "Are you sure? Is that a good idea? Are you safe?" And I'm like, "I got this. It's fine." But I mean, I was kind of raised to be more independent and rely on myself. And I want to make sure that our kids learn that too.
So have you heard a lot of backlash from people or got a lot of questions that are, what in the world are you doing? Like, this isn't going to work. How are you going to work this? How are you going to do this? Talk about that a little bit, because I can imagine you've received lots of comments, shall we say?
Lots of questions, especially when I put in my 12-month notice. There was a lot of questions. I've been struggling, and I don't know if you want to go into this, because I told my buddy, I was like, "Hey, I put in my 12-month notice," and he's like, "That is the longest notice I've ever heard anyone give." And he's like, "Also, you put in your 12-month notice. Normally it's 2 weeks, like for you, and you, yeah. So normally that doesn't usually how it goes. But anyways,
but the company that Matt works for right now are literally the most amazing people. It's a small family-run electrician company, and they're awesome, and they've been awesome since we met them. So we want to make sure we don't leave them high and dry.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, that's really the short of it is.
But they had a lot of questions.
Yeah. They're like, the owner right on the spot, even he's like, "Well, what if you did like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or like worked 6 months out of the year straight, and then took 6 months off just to get the travel out of your system?" And I was like, that's tempting, but no, because then you'd have to still come back to the house. But
right.
Or what if you just waited until the kids were older? Like, yeah. But no, because then you just wouldn't leave. If you're always waiting for that perfect opportunity, you'd never leave.
I agree with that.
Also, if you wait until the kids get older, it's a lot harder of an adjustment for them, I think. Like one of the kids isn't even going to be walking yet, so they're not going to really know any different. They're going to grow up traveling around and living in the RV, and that's just going to be their day-to-day. Our other son, Milo, is going to be 3. So he might have a little bit of, I'm going to miss being at the house and miss my room and all of that, but he will adjust and he'll get used to it. And he absolutely loves being outside and helping his daddy with projects. And so if he can do that all day, every day, he's going to be in heaven. So I think it will be all right. But we've had a lot of people that are like, "Well, so are you going to do this till Milo's like 5 and then come back and he can go to school?" No. I mean, ideally not. We'd like to continue longer than that. But, and then they get that confused look on their face, like, "So you're not going to bring him to school?" No, we're going to teach him on our own. It's a thing that people do. It's called homeschooling. I don't know if you've heard
it's
of it.
A thing. Yeah.
I'm going to brag about him just for a little bit.
Okay, you can do that.
I find him so impressive. There's a thing that came out recently where it was like before the coof, kids by the age of 2 should know, let's say 100 words, I think was the statistic. Like if you're progressing normally, a 2-year-old should know 100 words. Well, since then, because mask wearing and everything, I think, who dropped it? I can't remember what organization dropped it, but now 2-year-olds should know at least 50 words. Prior to this, if a 2-year-old only knew 50 words, they were considered to have like a speech impediment or speech delay or something like that. He's got to know like 500 words or something like that by this point. It's wild how, much of a, let's say, conversation you could have with him.
And he's not even 2 yet.
Not even 2 yet. And so when you can see, like, Kaitie works really hard at like teaching him, going through these books, also like Spanish and German and things like that.
Yeah.
When you are like self-directing your kid's education and you can already see like these kind of outcomes, why would you ever give them to somebody else and be like, you take them now?
Mm-hmm. And just see them basically like stall out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I remember probably 6 months ago was the first time he actually started repeating German words and pointing things out to me. And
nice.
He'd go over and pick up his shoes and come over and go, Shua, Shua. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're learning. So.
And you don't know if they're really picking up on it, but I think there's so much going on that they absolutely are. And it doesn't come out until later. Like I had posted a story or a reel on Instagram and a couple other places where we cut the tail end of it. Like I made him do it again because Kaitie told me a story where he's like, meth, because he hasn't enunciated yet, but they're like, what is he saying? More meth? And so he grabs this book off the shelf, and it's like little Einstein books or whatever. And he grabs this book, and it wasn't until like the very back of the book, Kaitie reads out more mass, less mass. And it's like, oh, that's what he was saying.
Oh,
like,
funny.
He remembered that and found the specific book that had that in that book. And, once we got to that, it all clicked for us. Like, we're dumb. And
it's like, come on, Mom and Dad, I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, so it's, oh man, that video, every once in a while, I think we watch it at least once a week just because it gets us cracking up. He's like, more mass, less mass. I'm like, I don't, like, can you do it one more time? And he goes, more mass.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's a riot.
It's fun to think about, like, going on this adventure with your kids and just so many things they will be able to see that other kids will not experience in the same way.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Yeah. You can talk now. That's fine.
But I was just going to say, like, the experiences that he's going to get and that this new baby are going to get from traveling and, like, working on different farms, like, you can't replicate that in a school. And I know that there's different kind of schools. Like, there's a thing in Missoula called a forest school where they spend time outside every single day, rain, snow, doesn't matter. And they learn stuff about, plants and bugs and the river and animals.
What's tuition, like $20,000 a year?
It's very expensive. But I mean, like, that is a very good option if that's your option. I just think that we can also kind of replicate that same type of thing ourselves. And I intend to follow some sort of curriculum. I don't know what that is yet. I haven't looked into it. But I will find something and we will decide to follow, we'll learn history and we'll learn math, but we'll also learn way more other things than you learn in school.
And kids they'll just replicate what you do. Usually it's all the bad habits, which is fun. So earlier this week, we're trying to, prepare the plants to be outside. So I just start picking up pots from our little, grow cabinet next to me here. We'll take them outside, set them out for a couple hours, and then bring them back in. And so I'll just let them, play outside, do whatever. I'm grabbing pots and just bringing them outside. And I go to the back door, and here he is standing with a pot, just like to hand it to me. I'm like, yes, I didn't even have to ask him. he just saw me doing it. He's like, oh, this is what Dad's doing. I'm gonna help.
Yeah.
Like, perfect.
That's awesome.
He loves going out and helping you with the chickens and playing in the shed and pretending to build things. And I mean, by the time he's 5, he's gonna be able to build his own RV. So
sweet, you can make a business out of it.
There you go. There's more income for you.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome. So do you have support from your families for this? Have your families been supportive, or have they had a lot of questions, or are they like, you guys are nuts, or?
It comes in various forms. I would say the shortest answer would be from your dad. Kaitie's dad used to be quite the hippie.
He traveled around in a VW van with a bunch of his friends.
6-week road trips down to Mexico. Van broke down, had to catch a ride back, or that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so when he just focused on like the traveling thing, he was like, yeah, do that. Like, didn't care what came with it, just like travel, do it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice. Kaitie's mom, she's like, you guys do what's best for you guys, and I'll support you however I can. I'm like, that's all we ask.
You can tell she has questions, but she's just like, you're an adult. I'm going to let you do your thing. And if there's a misstep, I know you'll call me. So she's not very critical of things. She's like, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Well, that's good.
Throw some good suggestions every now and then.
That's true.
And then my dad hasn't mentioned it at all. Oh. After I told my parents that I put in my 12-month notice, like, it was weird that they didn't say anything at all. And I was just like, didn't you do that thing where you talk too much? Like, like I expected something when I said, hey, you're probably going to find out eventually. So I'm just going to tell you right now that I put in my 12-month notice. Oh, okay.
I don't even think they said that. I think they both just sat, because it was on a video call.
Yeah.
I think they both just sat there and looked at you.
And so then I did like too much talking thing, like no one asked you to explain. Yeah. So that was something. The last time my folks are out here, probably almost a month ago now. Yep. My mom had a lot of questions, and I said, like, thanks for asking questions, because it shows that you're trying to understand. And I appreciate the trying to understand. That's as much as anybody that we can ask of anybody, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, so, like, even if you're not fully on board, you're still trying to learn about it, trying to engage us about it, and not just pretending it's not happening.
Which is kind of funny, because the whole podcast started from us explaining, like, people are going to have questions. Let's do a podcast. Episode 1. What is this?
What are we doing?
Right.
2. What is the plan? Plan-ish.
Yeah.
3, whatever, the house, all the, like, so on and so forth. And I don't know if anyone's really listened to those podcasts, but at least it forces us to, it's out there. It forces us to have some sort of answer when people do ask, and you're just like, I don't know, we're just going to go. Go ask some questions.
Right. It's funny that you say that it was it was good that they were asking questions, because I almost feel like it would be harder if they didn't say anything at all than if they were actually, and I don't want to say nasty, but like, we're asking questions like, what do you think? It's almost that not saying anything is harder.
The silent disapproval. Like, sure.
Yes. Yeah. That's what it is. Exactly. So I'm glad you got questions. That's good.
Yeah. And, you know, I also get it. You want what's best for your kid, even if they're stupid.
Right.
You know, but they got to find their own way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that it's very scary for them that we're uprooting our whole lives and taking the kids on the road. And it's very, very different from the way that they live their lives. But I mean, since we started talking about this, they're buying an RV. So you never know. True. They might be coming with us.
They bought an RV before we did.
They're going to be in the convoy. Is that what you're saying?
Actually, my dad retired this year, and he could use something else to do. So
Matt's dad, when he comes out here to visit, he literally does not sit still. He gets up, he has breakfast, he goes outside, he starts working on stuff. And it's like, you got a grandkid hanging around, and there's a beautiful view, and there's hiking, and he's like, nah.
Just gotta go. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, and I told him this like 2 years ago. I'm like, because it was like 10 o'clock at night, and he's still tiling our shower. And I'm like, I hand him like a bowl of ice cream. I'm like, all right, you proved your point. You can still outwork me. Like, I get it.
Okay.
He's a very, very hard worker.
So then that's hard to retire then, because.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's of that generation.
Yeah.
Work. He sold. So he had his own company. And for the first 15 years of it, he was working 12-hour days. And I think that was just like logged hours, not even.
Yeah, with 4 kids in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then over the last 3 years before he sold, he went to 10 hours a day. So it's like.
And that's considered like taking it easy.
Yeah.
So. Not going to put in quite so many hours. Going to take a little break. Only going to work 10 hours a day.
I'm surprised he hasn't picked up 2 part-time jobs yet.
Jeez, right. I got some time.
Yeah.
But that's also 100% where you get your work ethic and your attitude about needing to constantly work on things. So, like we say, we're going to try to put in like 30 hours, 25, 30 hours a week on these farms that we go to. Matt's not going to be able to help himself. If somebody's out there working on putting up a fence, even if he's at his 30 hours, he's going to go out there and help them.
Sure.
So he just likes to help. So,
and when it's, when it's warranted. So when I say that, I mean like, take your typical 8 to 5 job. And so when like at work, my 2 bosses, because it's just a father, a son, and then me, right? They are such workaholics. Like they'll work from like 6 to 6. And
plus Saturday.
And I'm just like, I've hit my 40. I'm going home. Like I'm like this. There's no reason why we need to be pushing so hard. And it's not even like super productive things either. It'll just be like, hey, we're like sitting around like BSing at the shop for 45 minutes. And when I can kind of sense like that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Make dinner or literally any excuse, I'm gonna go. Like that, like those type of things. Like I think I put in, I guess what it reminds me of also is when you're at a job and the other people have been in it for a long time, like the kid's been in it for 15, 20 years, probably 18 years, and the boss has been doing it 40, 45 years. You can get a pretty good look at what your future is going to look like should you stay there. And I was like, they have nice houses. They have good trucks. They have, all these toys, the one, like the kid's got like 4 snowmobiles, a side-by-side, travel trailer, a trailer just to haul his snowmobiles, all these things like that. I'm just like, that's just stuff. Like, I don't need all that stuff. So and I don't need to work 12 hours a day to get that because I don't want it. So.
But also I think your mindset on work changed a lot after Milo was born.
That is very true.
So now that you have a kid at home and you're seeing them for maybe an hour and a half before they go to bed every night, like, I think that's when Matt's mindset kind of started to shift. And this idea that he had kind of came out of nowhere and blindsided me. So
the other thing it was, though, is that after so Kaitie took her 3 months maternity leave and tried to go back to work. And
after 2 months,
her boss was just awful. Just treated her just like garbage.
It was like all of a sudden I had a kid and I wasn't valuable anymore because my kid took precedence. Like, if I can't get to work until 8 instead of 7:30 because my daycare doesn't open, that's what it is. And they had made adjustments for other people before, and then all of a sudden they couldn't make adjustments for me. And I'm like, well, I don't really like being here anyways, and I'd much rather be home with my son. So I left. And it was scary, and we didn't know if we could make it work. But we've had a few.
You told me we could make it work before you left. Is that not true?
That was totally true.
Now the secret comes out.
Whatever, we're already here. We figured it out.
So how did you bring it up to Kaitie, this idea? Like, how did you...
That's a good question. I don't know. I was probably just like, bleh.
Was it that nervous talking where you're like, oh, she didn't say anything, now I have to talk a lot?
I think it was she knew I'd been pretty unsatisfied at work. Being an electrical apprentice, you got the book work and you got to take tests. And then once you have your journeymans, you still have to do like continuing education every 2 years. And
sure,
I'm just like, no, thank you. So
the idea kind of came out in little tidbits.
Okay.
Like, what if I wasn't an electrician anymore? What if I was a handyman?
I did do that for a little bit.
And I was like, okay, if you could make enough money to replicate your income, because we're on one income, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Well, what if we traveled around and I was a handyman for like people all over the place? I'm like, okay, I don't know. Let's talk about it. What if we sold the house and we lived in an RV? And I'm like, it was probably 4 or 5 months of talking about it.
Oh,
a lot before I finally was like, okay, I think maybe we can make this work. But it scared me a lot because since I met Matt, our dream was to build a house in Montana and have a couple of kids. Mm-hmm. And we're just finishing our house. We're just about to have the couple of kids. And he's like, I have a new plan. I'm like, wait, what? Like, so it kind of like, it caught me off guard and it threw me for a loop because I thought that this was what our plan was. I thought this was what our combined dream was to have the house, to have the homestead, to have the kids, to have me stay home and raise them. And all of a sudden he's like, so I don't like that plan anymore. I want to switch it up completely. And I, to be honest, I was probably mad for a little bit. Like, you can't just change our whole life plan since I met you. Like, this has been our plan. But I think the reason I eventually came around is because I love the traveling aspect of it and the learning new things. But also when I'm like, if you watch Matt's interviews and stuff, he is so invested in learning about what these people are doing and so invested in going and helping. Yeah. Like it's contagious. Like it makes you want to go and help. So that's
so he got you.
Yeah.
Again.
Got me to quit my job and move to Montana with 3 weeks notice.
Give me another 5 years. We'll see what happens.
I was going to say, what's the next adventure going to be after that? Oh my goodness.
International.
International. That is, not going to lie, that is the long-term goal. If we could go like visit farms in like Germany and like Thailand and oh man, that would be so awesome.
That would be amazing.
We went to Thailand for our honeymoon and a couple of other countries in Asia when I worked for Delta. And like, I could honestly spend 5 years learning about how they do things on farms in Thailand. It's so beautiful there. And I'm sure there's lots of other places that are beautiful too, but that's our long-term like pipe dream.
And it would be like, we'd have to come back stateside often just because.
Nah.
You heard it here first. She said no.
We could just hop from Asia to Europe. You don't need to come back here. You just need to get out of Asia and then get out of Europe.
Yes.
It's fine. It'll be
It's fine. It's all good. So as you are traveling around and helping all these different farms, do you have skills that you feel you could offer, like specific things you are really good at that you have a lot of experience with? And are there things that you are hoping to learn at other people's farms?
I'm hoping to learn everything. Like
everything.
What seems to be very popular currently is starting your own like mushroom farm. That seems to be pretty popular right now. A lot of people are selling like fungi starts, or they'll even sell you like the log that already has fungus in it or something like that instead of just the spores or something. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, I only have like a dime size knowledge of what I've done hands-on here, and know like generally like enough like about like what other people are doing so that I can ask a little bit more specific questions. Like like I had like kuni seem to be pretty popular homestead pig.
Yeah.
I talked to a pig farmer and he's like, kunis are junk. They're they're a pyramid scheme. Like anyone who owns kunis, they're trying to sell kunis. Like I was like, you know what? I think I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
So things like that. As far as what are you trying to learn?
I mean, I don't really have a huge interest in learning the construction aspect of it, like helping to build a fence or things like that. That is totally Matt's area because he's been in construction for 7-8 years and he's done all sorts of stuff. So he can handle all the construction, the carpentry and the electrical work and all of that. I'm more interested in the gardening and the permaculture and the raising animals. And also I want to learn more about like making your own products, like making soap, making deodorant, canning items. We had a couple over for dinner last night that just got a freeze dryer and we talked about that for like an hour.
Oh, really?
Just like what things they've tried so far and what hasn't worked and what they're planning to try with all their vegetables over the summer. And just picking people's brains about what they've started doing, why they've started doing it, and how it could be something that I take with me to the next place. Like if I can teach somebody else the skills that I learned canning on somebody's farm, or I can take the skill of making yogurt that I learned on somebody else's farm and teach that to somebody else, that's what I want to do, is be able to kind of gather these skills and pass them on as we travel.
That's a really good point. I never even thought about that. Like you're bringing the work, but you're also bringing all the experience from all the places that you've been, and you're just kind of bringing it with you. That's a really good point.
And we're gonna record it as we go, and so if we don't remember quite like a specific detail, hopefully it'll be on YouTube or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And as far as kind of skills we're bringing with us, I'm really good at making things work from garbage. I
mean scraps. You don't mean garbage, you mean scraps.
Well, whatever.
I knew what you meant though. Yes.
It looks like garbage to almost everybody else. I built our chicken coop entirely with scrap material that we had that I got from like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist.
Fencing that we picked up on the side of the road.
Nice.
Yeah. And I built our raised beds from more scraps. And like I'll have to do a video on the garden beds because it's a really funky design that keeping deer out is really expensive. So I did like a barn style like truss over my raised beds and then so they're 4x8 kind of barn style looking roof on it with fencing on top that swing open at the top. Looks like a DeLorean when you do it. So the fencing's free, and
Most of the wood was free.
I think all the wood was free.
All of the stuff in the garden beds was free.
So all you're trying to do, like, just keep the deer out of like the garden bed and not have to do the whole perimeter. So that was kind of like my solution there.
That's a great idea.
That's probably one of my favorite things about homesteading is just trying to see what you can make work.
Okay, we can't afford to build a 6-foot fence around our entire property. Right. What can we do to still protect all of the vegetables from all of the deer that we have?
Yeah.
And Matt's got that kind of brain where he's just like, all right, let me think about it for a day. And he has like 4 different plans that he's going to try. And something always works. So we haven't had a failed project yet.
Or work well enough.
Works well enough to do what you need to do. I love that. So another question that I'm just going to hit you with here.
Okay.
You guys are relatively new to the online like homesteading community, self-reliance community. So I'm wondering, in the community that you see online, what do you think is really exciting and wonderful and beneficial about it? And do you see anything that is not good or not helpful or a struggle or things you'd like to see changed?
I've seen a lot of people starting farm stands. And I think the more that people talk about that on social media and in this community, the more people are like, hey, I could do that. Like, that's something that I could potentially try and do on a Saturday morning. I think just in the past couple of weeks, I've seen like 4 or 5 other Instagram people I follow that are like, we're going to do a farm stand this year. And we're going to try to be open from 9 to noon on Saturday. But like, you know, if that's something they want to try and do and they can get their community involved and, you know, help support their farm, or even if it's not a farm, even if it's just their couple of garden beds or selling their chicken eggs, like that's great. I think that's the more that you talk about those little endeavors and the struggles that you've had with them and also the successes you've had with them, the more people are apt to try it themselves.
Yeah.
What was the 2 questions? It was the
So we have the online community that you've joined into. What are the really great things about it that you think are wonderful? And what are things you see people doing within the community that maybe aren't helpful to the community?
Okay, right. So the things that are helpful is that people posting their stuff online just in general is super inspiring, which got me into doing the interviews in the first place. That was never my plan. I just started the podcast, like I said, to just talk about what we're doing. And then when we came up with like a couple episodes, I'm like, we're going to run out of material in like 2 weeks. We're not doing enough currently to just keep producing content. And so I'm like, I want to know more about this person and this person and this person. So I just like write up a thing like, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. It's like, just kind of spam a bunch of people kind of, and I'd get like a 5% response rate, which is fine.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, when you send out like 25 and 2 come back, like,
well, and also enough. When you're new and you have like 2 Instagram posts and 1 YouTube video.
Yeah, really.
This is true.
Yeah.
So, so seeing like getting to talk to some of these people and be like, you're doing what? And you came from this and like, you're planning on that. Like, it's just super inspiring.
Yeah.
Which kind of feeds back into this whole thing. You know, we're really struggling with this. Like, I want to come help you and finish that project or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the thing that, to answer the second half, that isn't helpful is when people post pictures of their homesteads that are way too polished. Like, I can't remember.
Everything's perfect.
Everything's perfect. I can't remember who I was talking to this about. I'm like, you know, she's like picking strawberries in her sundress and like the sun's just coming up like over the trees. And it's like, there's not like misplace anything within the frame or whatever. I'm like, that's fake. Like, you're a fake homesteader. Like, even if you're homesteading, like, you have a mess. Show the mess. Make it real. Like,
show the mess. Yeah.
So what you're saying is this summer I need to post pictures of me picking tomatoes with throw up on my shirt from babies, and the kid fell over in the dirt, and all the mess.
Yeah.
All right. I can do that.
I think people appreciate that so much when it's the real stuff that's out there.
Not the glamorized junk.
I feel like when you post that glamorized junk, if that's what you're used to seeing as homesteading, then when you get into this lifestyle and it's mess and it's mistakes and it's all the stuff that happens, you think you're doing something wrong, and you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that nobody ever talked about that there was throw up on your shirt and the kid fell in the mud and you're trying to pull him out of them. They don't talk about that. So yeah,
that needs to be way more seen, way more talked about. So like when people do get into it, like I got like scrap fencing everywhere. I've got chicken poop on my boots that I tracked into my house. I don't think I'm doing this right. Like, that's it. That's what, like, this is it. Like, you're doing it, like something came in, freak accident, killed all your tomatoes. That happens.
Or you had an idea to put a bunch of cardboard down to kill weeds, and then you had to take these giant 1,000-pound bales of cardboard back to the grocery store. I don't know who did that, but you definitely put that on Instagram.
Gotta post your L's. Gotta post your L's. Because what made me not do the bales, but what made me post videos about the bales was that I asked my guests to share things that didn't work. And I wrote up, I was like, it'd be disingenuous if I didn't also share what I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, here's a couple 1,000-pound mistake right here and a lot of work. And so.
And your only helper is a 2-year-old and your pregnant wife. So
these things happen in real life.
Yep. So
that's what it is. So is there anything else you want to share about FarmHopLife?
Oh,
just that we're excited.
We're very excited.
I think it will be a little bit difficult to start with, trying to figure out how to find our groove. But I mean, the most important thing to us is if you need help, even if it's just for the weekend, reach out to us, let us know, and we will try and be there. Like, I know that we can't drive 18 hours straight with 2 kids, but if you're 5-6 hours away, we can definitely try and come. Like, and even if it's something that somebody needs help with this summer and they're a couple hours from us right now, we could definitely pack up the kids and come help. We just we don't like seeing all of the struggles that people go through. And if there's something that we can do to help with that, even if it's just for a day, we'll come hang out.
Like there's a woman that I interviewed. She's roughly our age, about 7 hours away in Northwest Montana. Mm-hmm. And, she's on like 120 acres. It's like her first year on the farm. And she's been farming and stuff, but she finally has like a lot bigger space to do this and do that. They're building their own house because right now they're living in their fifth wheel in northern Montana, where it just like dumps snow. And she posted pictures on Twitter a couple months ago, like that the windstorm blew the block walls down or something like that. And so
like all their progress had been erased.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, things like, it doesn't have to be quite that drastic, but
things like that, we'd love to be able to just hop in the truck and go help for the weekend, even if it's just to help clean up.
Yeah. And the other thing that kind of concerns me is like, especially with like the current shortages, like we haven't seen anything yet. I do worry that we're starting too late. Not that there's anything we can do about that. We're going to start when we can start, but I mean, people got to start growing their own food today.
And
it's going to be really hard for a lot of people that this is going to be their first year, or next year is going to be their first year.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this year isn't somebody's last year.
Right.
Because it's too hard.
Yeah.
That they can't get their head above water.
Yeah. I think what you're doing is just this really cool way to build a different kind of community. I mean, that's, we've got the online community, we've got the in-person community, and you're just like, let's make that in-person community even bigger. Even people who aren't super local, and let's just help people. We had a really big storm go through here a couple of days ago, and I was just amazed at the people that, sent messages and are like, do you need help? I'm like, you are 3 hours away. What are you talking about? They're like, if you need anything, we'll come. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that's what you guys are doing. It's just like, do you need help? We will help you. So it's super cool. It's like the community from many, many, many years ago brought forward, and we can travel farther now. We have that ability, and it's just, you guys are doing that. So that's awesome. I love it.
Exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
I love it. So where do we find out information about you?
You can find more about us at FarmHopLife.com. I've got quite an array of things you can see right on the website. You can learn more about our mission. You can see like 60-second episodes of our podcast that I splice all together, and like stuff that I throw up on TikTok, like how bad I talk, the so's. But that's also on YouTube. And map of I think I already mentioned this, map of where people I've interviewed are at. What else is there? Oh, there's on the social tab, it's kind of like a curated version of things that I post. So if you want to come find me or don't want to follow me right away, like, oh, what did he post? Like, oh, this is what he posts. So that's all there.
Awesome. Well, I will put all your links in the show notes so people can find you as well. But it has been awesome to talk to you guys.
Thank you for having us.
I wish you all the best in your whatever adventures you come up with next.
We're gonna come visit you someday, Amy.
Sounds fabulous.
With family, couple hours away. We'll just say, perfect. Yeah, we're doing this for business.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. I can't wait.
That'd be great.
So there you go. Now you know all about FarmHopLife. You've learned about Matt and Kaitie, and you know what their plan is to help homesteaders out by hopping farms. So now you know where FarmHopLife comes from. So go check out their website, check out their videos, check them out on social media, show them some love, and follow their adventure. I'm so excited to see what comes of all of their plans. If you would like to support me and the work that I'm doing here at A Farmish Kind of Life, you can do that in 3 ways. The first way is you can subscribe to my monthly snail mail newsletter. Second way is you can go check out my books. You can find out more about those things by heading to my website, farmishkindoflife.com, and going to the menu, and you will find information there on both of those things. The third thing that you can do is share my stuff. Share this episode with a friend, share my recipes, share my videos, share your favorite podcast episode. Spread the word about what I'm doing here at A Farmish Kind of Life, because word of mouth is how we help the community grow, and we need to grow this community, right? All right, thanks for hanging out with me today, you guys. I always appreciate spending time with you. I will talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com. Find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.